Alright guys, this video has been a long time coming. I've been asked about it so many times, I've promised to release it so many times, but it's such a monumental task to do a video like this that I just keep putting it off, but finally I'm doing it, it's here, buckle up. This is Ghost of Caldera's settings and tips.
Oh, it's Ghost of Caldera! It's the Ghost of Caldera, bro!
Alright guys, I'm gonna take you guys through my settings and then also show you guys my loadout and my perk setup. So I know this can be kind of boring, so feel free to skip ahead if you want to, but a lot of this stuff is very important for the way that I play. I'm not saying these are the best settings for everybody, but these are the best settings for my play style. So take from it what you will.
Okay.
Use some stuff, don't use some stuff, kind of fine tune it for your own play style, and I hope you learned something. Alright, we'll start with controller settings. I do use controller. I use a Razer Wolverine V2. More on that later. I do have one weird thing with my button layout. So my slide I put on the right bumper and my lethal equipment is on B. I do that because my Razer Wolverine has two buttons near the triggers that are like extra buttons that you can set to whatever. So one of them is set to B and then my slide is right bumper. So I do everything with those two fingers. I have the other extra bumper button set to jump, so don't have to take my thumb off the thumbstick, and that works very well for me. I don't use the paddle buttons on the back, on like the bottom of controllers. That's never felt good to me. That's why I like the Razer Wolverine. I've tried out a lot of other controllers. Other controllers are great, but there it is. That's my button layout. I don't know why I leave controller vibration on. Probably shouldn't, but it is what it is. All right, dead zone. This is important, guys. So my left stick minimum dead zone is set to 0. So as soon as I touch the left stick, it moves. You might have a little bit of stick drift. Some people play even with the stick drift and they'll leave this on 0. Just kind of mess around with it, see what feels good for you, but you want this pretty low, as low as you can get it. The max setting, I also brought it down from 99, brought it down to 65. You kind of want it to reach the max a little faster. You don't want it to, you don't want to have to go all the way to 99 to do it. You want to like kind of get there quicker. 65 has been good for me. I've kind of messed around with it, gone really low, gone really high. 65 is a good middle ground. I don't even mess with the right stick one. I don't think I changed this right trigger. I don't know why that's there. All right, aiming. My sensitivity 6.6. Sometimes I bump it up to 8.8. Really depends, but most of the time it's on 6.6. I don't mess with ADS at all. Don't mess with vertical aim access. Don't mess with tack stance. My aim response curve type is dynamic. I've messed around with linear, but I like dynamic. It just works well. ADS multipliers, I don't mess with that. Aim assist is on. Yes, you do get aim assist with throwing knives, like while you're aiming the throwing knife. So I leave that on. Aim assist type is default. I mess around with this too. Default just kind of feels the best. ADS, aim assist, I don't care about that. Don't care about third person. I don't use the motion sensors. All right, gameplay. Auto tack sprint. This might be the most important one for Warzone, even for multiplayer. Have auto tack sprint on. You don't want to have to click extra buttons in order to move the fastest, so I'll keep that on. Slide maintain sprint. Yes, yes, yes. You want that on. Auto move forward is off. I don't care about tap sprint since I'm on automatic tactical sprint anyways. Okay, grounded mantle. So this is important. There's what I call the mantle jump. It kind of gives you a little boost of speed while you're mantling over low objects like knee height. And you'll see it in game. I'll show you guys some examples. Basically, you get Spood Beast. And you can move around the map faster if you have these settings. You need grounded mantle on. You need auto airborne mantle partial. Ground mantle hang off. That's it. You want those three. I've messed around with other ones and they don't really work as well. This seems to work the best for me for moving around fast, and I'll show you guys some examples. All right, so this is a low ledge mantle jump. It definitely gives you a little boost of speed. Sometimes it's hard to notice. The enemies will definitely be noticing, and you'll be harder to hit. And here's a combo. So you go from low mantle to low mantle, and you get a boost of speed. All right, slide dive behavior. I recently changed this like 3 months ago to hybrid. I used to have it to hold to dive, but it goes a little slower. This way, the slide is super responsive. The dive is super responsive. Only problem is there's kind of like a bug where sometimes you'll dive even though you didn't press the dive button, and that's really annoying, and sometimes it gets me killed. But overall, it's better for me to have this on hybrid. It's weird to get used to, but it does help in the long run. All right, plunging underwater, I have a free look, so wherever you're looking, you just go straight that direction. Parachute auto behavior, I have that off. I don't want the parachute opening when I don't tell it to. Yes, sometimes I do smack in the ground because I put it out too late. Sprinting door bash, you want this on. You want to make door plays, so when you're going in and out of doors, kind of throwing off an enemy's camera, you want the sprinting door bash on. You don't want to get stuck on a door. Ledge climb, don't mess with that. My gas mask is manual. Any of these, I don't mess with these. I don't mess with these. Don't mess with tack stance. Tap to interact, that makes you go faster. Armor plate, it's best to have it on apply all. And that's about it. I don't think I mess with any of these. My vehicle camera is off. When I drive vehicles, I don't like having the camera resetting back to the back of it. It's wherever I put it. Everything else is pretty standard. Graphics, obviously kind of go based on your own system. I have like a moderately good PC and graphics card, so I do okay. Yeah, don't go off my settings. Go off of your own. I do use 120 field of view. That's why it looks so fast. If you have it any like lower, it helps with some people because obviously the screen is a little more zoomed in. But 120, I want to see the most of the screen, especially when I'm in close quarters combat. I really want to see as much of the area as I can. In turn, it kind of makes my player look like he's moving faster. ADS, don't mess with that. All this stuff, motion blur, weapon blur, all that stuff should be off. That's pretty standard. Audio is pretty standard. Headphone bass boost. I don't use what is it called? The Art is War audio boost thingy, audio optimization. I don't use that. I have a nice pair of headphones. So I use Bayer Dynamic 990s for my headset, and sometimes I use IEMs. I have the Moondrop Aria Snow Edition. Let's move on to my loadout. Here in the primary, I have the Superi 46. So I heard that this gun has very fast movement if you set it up a certain way. So if you have a gun in the primary slot here, but in game you're just using your secondary, you still gain XP. So if I get kills with this, I gain a small amount of XP for the primary weapon that I'm holding. So that's why it's leveled up. It goes very slow, so I'm just gonna have this here until it levels all the way up, and then I can mess with the settings to kind of give it a like a speed build. So I have it there in the primary for now. Usually in my primary is this Holger 556, and only because of the chainsaw attachment. Basically, the chainsaw attachment is there in case I run into any riot shielders. The chainsaw goes right through a riot shielder, even from the front. Always catches them off guard, and my day is a lot better because of it. This is my build. Let me show you my build. This is like a speed build. Oh wait, how do you do it? I don't really know what any of this stuff does. I just put it on because it made the mobility higher. And I don't know if that's like the most optimum build, but I don't mess with it that much. So as far as I know, if you know any better, put it down in the comments. Thank you. Let's go back. So right now, obviously I'm using the sledgehammer. It's the newest melee weapon out. It's honestly, it's a very good melee weapon. I could not switch back to anything else and be fine using it. But right now I'm just kind of using it to master it and see if it's my favorite. My favorite pretty much predominantly is the sword, but yeah, I'll get back to that eventually. I have the gladiator and another one. Basically, it's just different melee weapons here. One of these, let me show you my perk packages. So I have two different perk packages, and there's really only one difference. The first one, I always have double time. Mountaineer is a must unless I'm running a different one, which I'll show you, but I pretty much always have Mountaineer on. Resupply I have on. I don't like to go and buy munitions boxes and, you know, always be relying on munitions boxes and other stuff to refill my knives. So I have resupply on. I probably don't need it. I could just in game use munitions boxes and stuff, but I'm lazy. And Resolute's very important. I always have this on. When you start taking gunshots and damage, you get a speed boost. So it helps me get out of fights and save my life. The other perk package, the only difference is Irradiated. So I use this when I want to like end game, do like a gas play, and I've kind of gotten pretty decent at doing the gas plays end game. It's almost like a cheat code. Like you just lay out in the gas and win. Jam Cal is the one that made it really popular lately, but I don't run it all that often, but it's there in case I wanted to feel like doing it. All right, for my tactical, I have the stim. Usually in game, I will pick up smokes for like end game, especially on the big map. Smokes are very, very useful, but most of the time I have the stim. It's probably not the best tactical to have. I probably should be running smokes all the time, but I like making plays with the stim, and I'll show you guys that in a little bit. And obviously I have the throwing knife. I mess with the throwing stars every once in a while. Throwing knife's just so much better. So those are my settings. That's my loadout and my perks. And keep in mind, this is for my playstyle. This might not be the best for everybody, but this is how I play. Take from it what you will, and let's get into the tips section of the video. I do not even know where to start, to be honest. So I'm going to break it off into sections. And just remember, a lot of these tips are useful for just regular BR in general. Gun users, melee users, whatever it is. This is kind of common sense knowledge and maybe something you hadn't thought of before. So let's get into it. Movement. So for my playstyle, I don't run a riot shield, I only use melee weapons and throwing knives. I need to move fast, so I always want to be moving the fastest I possibly can. That means I always need my tac sprint refreshed. That means I utilize movement on the map, so vehicles, zip redeploys, jumping off buildings, anything I can. If you watch me play, one of the things you'll see me do is run, jump, and slide a lot. So while you're jumping, you're not tac sprinting, so your tac sprint bar isn't going down. So I jump every once in a while. I'll also do the same thing with the slide. While you're sliding, your tac sprint doesn't go down. Now, while you're jumping and sliding, it doesn't refresh either, but you're still at least keeping it from going all the way down. I also utilize what I call like a strafe jump. Now, this was definitely a thing in MW19 and Warzone 1. I honestly could not tell you if it even helps in Warzone 3, but I still do it anyways out of habit. So you kind of flick to the side and flick back and jump. And it used to make you jump further if you're kind of like jumping to the side. So I still do that to this day. It's just a habit. I think it helps. I honestly am not sure. Haven't really tested it out. But at the very least, it helps you be more of a moving target. So that way it's harder for people to shoot you. So if you're jumping around, moving different directions, you're obviously going to be harder to shoot. Now earlier I showed you guys the mantle jumps. So make sure to utilize those. One real quick tip that I don't think a lot of people know about. Shout out to Polo Tato Man for teaching me this. If you're replating, putting plates on, and you jump over a low ledge, you stop plating. But if you look straight down while you're plating and jump over a low ledge, it keeps going. So this will save your life. Let's talk about zip jumps. This is a mechanic that is used by the more advanced Warzone 3 players out there. Basically, as you're going up a zip, instead of just letting the animation carry out and it's super slow getting to the top and releasing the zip, you jump right before you get to the top and you can get a boost that shoots you up and over or to the side or wherever you really need it at. Basically, just hold back on the left stick as you're going up and try to time it before you get to the top, press jump, and it'll shoot in the air. Right after you shoot in the air, you gotta kind of direct yourself to either go forward or to the side or even further back if you want. This is extremely useful. You don't want to be stuck in that slow animation getting to the top of a roof. Door plays, I should mention really quick. Utilize doors, going in and out of them to confuse your opponents. It's hard for them to see when you're going in or going out. You can pretty much completely sneak by them and they don't even see it. And it really throws them off and you get the kill. Now for the meat and potatoes. How do I utilize movement to be a better melee player? Well, since the throwing knife nerf, I have had to utilize melee combat a lot more than I used to, and it has completely changed my playstyle, but it is what it is, and we ball out. It's just what we do. So obviously, closing distance and getting up close to the opponent is very, very important. One of the ways I do that is utilize map mechanics like zip redeploys and choppers and vehicles to break that distance and get extremely close to my opponent so I can take them out. Basically, getting the drop on them. Now, one of the ways is a zip redeploy, so you'll see me do this a lot. I'll shoot up, I'll find my opponent, I'll slam down on the ground. This is where Mountaineer comes in handy, and most of the time they're not ready for it, and you can get the kill.
Face planted and then fucking had a sword and you just fucking like knifed the fuck out of him.
Now while you're doing this, you gotta realize that there is a slight delay between when you land and when you can actually melee attack. So you gotta kind of plan, give yourself some space so they can't just directly shoot you. So try to land like behind them or where you think they're not looking, because they will hear you fly in and smack on the ground. Now another method you've seen me use if you watch my gameplay is using choppers to fly in low and drop directly on top of the opponent. This works even better than the zip redeploy because they hear the sound of the chopper blowing by, they don't even see you land, and it works almost 100% of the time. Now, very much in the same method as the chopper, you use vehicles. So trucks, cars, ATVs, anything you're on, basically you drive close to an opponent, jump off right when you're close to them, and they almost will every time follow the car and try to shoot the car, and you're right there to easily clean up the kill. This is honestly a very powerful technique. Now, vehicles and redeploys aren't always there as an option, so there's different ways you can use for getting the jump on your opponents. I mentioned that I use stims and smokes as my tacticals, and those come in very handy for kind of doing the same thing. Getting in close very quickly so that your opponent doesn't have the time to kill you before you can bop them twice, stab them up, or pull off an execution. So stims are very useful because they give you a boost of speed immediately after you use them. So as I'm approaching a fight, if I know an opponent's around a corner, through a door, I'll throw on the stim to give me that extra boost of speed. That way they're not ready for the speed at which I come at them. I'll almost always throw on the slide because you slide a little bit further as well, and that makes you harder to hit. But you get in close and you attack. Now I'll always try to slide directly behind him or to the side. That way I break the straight line of fire and make myself harder to hit. Now stims are also useful for getting out of a fight into safety because it does replenish your health immediately after applying, while also giving you that speed boost. Now smoke grenades are pretty self-explanatory. You throw it down and it helps in rotating, and it also helps in getting closer to an opponent. You throw smoke down, they might hear your footsteps, but they're still not expecting it. I'll use smokes a lot if I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place and there's just no other way to get close to an opponent or get away from an opponent, and they always come in clutch. Now I've said this before, but this is for my playstyle, so smokes and stims might not work best for you. You could always try stuns, a lot of other options out there, just find what works best for you. So that just about covers the basic gameplay mechanics for how I play, the way that I play. But believe me when I tell you there's so much more that goes into my success as a player, and it is really all just summed up by game IQ. And yes, that can be taught, but that would be like an hour-long series. And if you guys like this sort of thing, I will start breaking it down video by video in different segments so that you guys can understand the way that I think and approach the game that goes beyond just the mechanics that I used here. If that's something that you guys are up for, let me know in the comments below. Let me know any other questions, concerns you guys have, and I'll try to hit them up in the next part of this series. I appreciate all you guys for watching this. I hope you guys took something good out of it. Tear them up out there.
Attack